In this section, we're going to learn how to use source control to see what we've done, review what we've learned, and kind of get a good overview of what our project looks like. The first thing I want to do is go to our Plastic SCM window. And right now we've got pending changes open. I want to go to the Change Sets tab. It's kind of hard to tell that these are tabs, but that's what they are. And if you look in here, you'll see that you've got quite a few change sets. Your count might be slightly different from mine. I've got 40. I've probably added a couple extra that you haven't seen. I'll show you what those look like in a moment. But overall, you should have just about the same number with probably very similar commit messages. You can scroll all the way through, all the way down to the bottom and see even the first commit message, which was at 0, which kind of happened automatically, and number 1, added packages and project settings. This happened automatically too. So the first commit that we did was our art imported and level 1. And if I click on that commit here, you'll see that it shows that we added 457 files. This was our biggest commit when we pulled in the entire art package from OpenGameArt. Remember, you can also go to Kenny NL's page. He's got a whole bunch of great art available there. You can download lots of cool stuff and pull it in later. But for now, this is the one that you need. So you've got this one in, and we pulled this in pack number, or in commit number 2. We also went on to add in a player script, and here you can see this is where I actually have more commits than you do because I added my player script and then I moved it to the correct folder. So I had to delete it and then re-add it, and I had some extra commits that I didn't put on camera and I forgot to delete beforehand. So let's take a look at our first commit where we've added a player. So you've got the one where you say added player script and attached it in level 1 or something similar. You should see over here to the right you've got added, and you've got a scripts and a plus meta, and then you've got player.cs plus meta. So when you find this part, and it's probably a commit message looking something like this, it's one of our first ones, right click on it and hit the diff button, not diff meta, but just diff. This is going to pop up a source control diff tool that'll show us the difference between our previous version, which didn't exist, and our first version, or the version that we've clicked on, which was version right here. Mine was at number 5. And here you can see that we added the line that logs updated at the current time, which, remember, time.time is the current time the game has been running in seconds. So at 0 seconds in, it's 0, at 1 second in, it's 1, at 10 seconds in, it's 10, and so on, but there's usually some long decimal there. So this was our first version. There was nothing to compare. Let's close this and let's go up a little bit further. Let's go find the part where we added jump velocity and duration variables to our player. And then let's right click on the player and hit diff. This will show us the difference between the part where we added these variables and the version of it that we had before we added the variables. So this is when we added our 2 serialized fields for jump velocity and jump duration. This allowed our player to jump up higher or further. Well, really, it allowed us to do that, to control that through the inspector. So we could control how high they jump without having to hard code it, come back in here and change the values. Let's go take a look at what that commit was like. Let's say we want to go revisit that commit. I'm going to go right click on commit number 9, and I'm going to hit switch workspace to this change set. I hit switch, and that's going to change my local version of the game. I'll hit reload over to exactly what we had on commit number 9. Don't worry though, everything's still available. I can get back to my previous one. I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. Let me hit play though and go check it out. Make sure that we've got those jump variables working, because that's what we added in this version, right? So I could jump and I could go left and right, but remember there's unlimited jumps when we started out, so those are available. And if I go over here and select my alien, I can see, let's see, where are my fields? Right here, jump duration and jump velocity. Yep, so that seems about right. I could change this to like a 15, and oh yeah, he goes flying. So that's cool. Now I remember that's what those fields were. And if I want, I can even double click on the player script, allow my code editor to reload it, and go see that version of the code right here, go modify it, or maybe share it with somebody or whatever it is I need to do with it. I now need to just go back to Unity though and see something slightly newer. Let's go back to my change sets. Any second now, we should be able to click on change sets. There we go. And let's scroll through and find another commit. So there was the part where we added our walk animation to the player. In this commit, we can see that we added our animation folder, we added that controller, and we added the walk animation that we recorded. Let's go take a look at it. Let's switch our workspace to that, or at least I'll switch mine. We'll reload. And we'll go take a look at that player and the animator controller that we added to the player. So we've got the player here. The player has underneath it the animator, and it has the controller on it. The player's animator controller has this player walk animation. And at first, remember, it just looped. It just played over and over. If I press play, remember, it just continued to go and go and go. Let's see what that looked like. Oh, remember, no matter what I did, it just constantly walked. Do you remember how we fixed that or how we changed it? Let's go back into Plastic and take a look. We'll go back to our change sets. Let's go find one slightly newer. We can find the one that we're on. It's bolded here, line 16. Let's say that we want to go to the next one where we've added animator controls to jump and idle. So here, we'll switch the workspace to that change set. And let's also do a diff on the player.cs file and see how we modified the way that we interacted with the controller. So I've got to go back to change sets. It is kind of annoying how it bounces over like that. But I'll go back to change sets, reselect my change set here where we added animator controls, and I'll hit diff again. We'll pull up the script, and then we'll go look at it. So here, remember, in our update sprite method, we actually just called into our animator, and we told it to set a Boolean of whether we are grounded or not. So we set is grounded to true or false. And then we set the float for our horizontal speed to the absolute value of our horizontal speed, which, as you remember, just removes the negative sign if there is one. Let's go take a look at what that was like in game, or in our editor, I guess, really, because what we care about is the animator. Remember, the animator has our grounded check and our horizontal speed parameter. We added those by hitting the plus button and choosing the parameter type and then naming them. And then we've got transitions. We start by going into player walk. If we're not walking, so if our horizontal speed is less than 0.1, we go into idle without has exit time on so that we can skip past and go instantly. We don't want to blend. If we start walking, our horizontal speed gets greater than 0, we go back into walk. And then for our walk to jump, we just check to see if we're not grounded. And if we are grounded, we go back into walk. And then from idle to jump, it's the same. Except when we leave jump, if our speed is less than 0.1, we go into idle instead of to walk. And we've got, of course, the has exit time. Oh, has exit time is actually checked on these. Probably shouldn't be. And if it is in our latest version, we should uncheck that. So let's see how we get back to our latest version of the code or our project. We go up to our top commit here, right click and hit switch workspace to this change set. And of course, ta-da, we're going to be at the latest version. So, we've got to let it reload. Let it reload here. Our level 1 will reappear. Our scene view should show us everything. It's reinstalling the Cinemachine package, so it takes a second to do that. Bounce between. And remember, we added our Cinemachine package too to control our camera and have it follow our player around. Now I want you to just go ahead and take a look at a couple of your other commits. Maybe go check them out, go switch your workspace to them, and take a quick peek at them. Whatever you do, don't go delete them. You can't do that from in here. You have to do it from the Plastic SEM tool, the external one. Don't go modifying it and deleting them. But inside of Unity, right here, just go switch to them, see what you want. Don't hit the revert button, just hit switch, or hit diff and see what you can kind of glean from it. Even if you don't completely understand what it's showing you or what you're seeing at all, just play with it a little bit and see kind of what comes from it. I think that you'll start to understand it more, and it's going to become a very important skill long term for you. And then in the next section, we're going to dive into a lot more of the code and talk through some of that some more.